Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
My neighbor called me on Saturday and said that he had just received a letter from the Democratic National Committee, and parts of the letter went as follows. I have the distinguished honor of being on the committee to raise $50 million for a monument to Hillary Clinton. We originally wanted to put her on Mount Rushmore until we discovered there was not enough room for two more faces. We then decided to erect a statue of Hillary in the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame. We were in a quandary as to where the statue should be placed. It was not proper to place it beside the statue of George Washington, who never told a lie, or beside her husband, William J. Clinton, who never told the truth, since Hillary could never tell the difference. We finally decided to place it beside Christopher Columbus, the greatest Democrat of them all. He left not knowing where he was going, and when he got there, he did not know where he was. He returned not knowing where he had been, and it did all of this on someone else's money. Thank you for your help, Hillary R. Clinton Monument Committee, and so far we have raised 16 cents. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Morning, morning. Thank you very much, and welcome to another weekly edition of Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Big spring tire sale going on, along with our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Locally owned and operated Western Waste, 734-6969. And also our thanks go out to Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert. All you need, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. It's a Monday, and let's take a look at the phone lines right now, thanks to Wheels over at our main station. And do we have a pledger? Wheels, do we have anybody for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, we do.
All right, put them on, please. Thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb.
Hello, Al.
Doing great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Al, thank you so much, and God's blessings to you and Polly this morning.
And you know what they ought to do with that 16 cents is for Hillary's deal? Tax is 12 cents, and she can have the rest for postage someplace else.
I agree with you totally, man. Thank you very much, Al. God bless you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Number to call, 678-6945. All your carpet and flooring needs, kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home, it's with Kyle and Whitney Cheney right there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for the blue door on 1228 Oakley Avenue. Really nice people serving you. Right now it's time for Michael Rogers' weather.
Springtime weather in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. How about that? Morning, everybody. You got a mess this morning, and you got a mess that's going to continue all the way till We're going to say Thursday right now. The bigger of the mess will take place tomorrow. You got a slight chance of rain today. It's overcast right now. And then you got a chance of rain and snow that's going to eventually turn into rain when it's over said done. That's typical springtime weather. You'll go to that for tomorrow, and then you'll stay cloudy with pretty much a slight chance of rain for Wednesday and Thursday. You'll come out of it on Friday with sunny conditions. Temperatures for today, you're on the cool side. This is a pretty good-sized storm that's passing through here, although you don't see much of it. In fact, if you head down Interstate 84 and then get on 86 at the split and head toward Pocatello, you're really going to run into a mess of about 6 inches of snow. Other than that, 57 for that, make that 54 for the high today, 57 for the high tomorrow, 37 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
There you go. Great weather forecast. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Hey, I know some people are going to take this wrong, and they're going to go, there goes Bell boasting again. My Wisconsin Badgers beat Kentucky. I told you they'd do it. And they're in the championship game against Duke tonight for the NCAA championships. It's been a long time since the Wisconsin Badgers basketball team has done anything any good, any big championships. Well, now they got a chance at the biggest one, the NCAA championships tonight against Duke. Go Wisconsin! Yes, sirree, I'm tickled to death. Hey, don't forget SafeLink Internet. First month free, plus free installation. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. And they are the best. That's it. It is Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet, and that's SafeLink Internet. Call them, tell them I told you to call, 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, serving you. Also, I want to remind you about my friends, and that is, of course, Daryl's Cleaners. I've got a whole bag full of old rumply-crumply shirts and everything. Boy, I'm running out of shirts. I got to get them in there. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and Kevin and Cindy will send them back to me just looking brand spanking new. They are the best cleaners in the world and really take care of everything. And by the way, restoration of items too. You might think, oh, well, it's shot. Got to throw it away. No, take it in there and have it checked. And they'll give you an honest appraisal as to how good it'll come out after cleaning and taking care of it. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Really nice people. You're bigoted. You're a hate monger. You're an Islamophobe. You're a racist. You're all of those things today, and we're told that we are those things today if we are concerned and questioning about what's going on in the world around us. I have been called that over the last couple of weeks many, many times, and I almost wear those words as a badge of courage and a badge of honor. Something so deplorable last week happened, and for you absolute, that I don't know how to even phrase this. I want to make sure that my verbiage is acceptable by the FCC. But for you people out there that think that there is not a holy war brewing, and you people out there think that there is absolutely nothing to an attack on Christianity, get your heads out of the sandbox and start to see and perceive what's going on around us. And it could very well happen here. Last week, I cried. I am not ashamed to admit it. It brought tears to my eyes. Last week, 148 students at a Kenya African college, Garissa College, were lined up and then segregated by their faith, separated by their beliefs. Are you a Muslim or are you a Christian? And the Christians stood up and said, we are Christian. And they were shot in the head. 148 students were massacred because they were Christian. ISIS, one of the most deplorable terror groups ever in the world's history, asking if you are Muslim or Christian and then shooting people in the face. ISIS lines up 20 Christian men and then beheads them. And these dolts in the news media today, these people that for some reason have an axe to grind against Christianity, and right here locally we are suffering from some of the same dolts working in the news media, say there is no war on Christianity, and that anybody that's against Islam and against Muslims and everything, well, you're an Islamophobic and they put you down. My God, what is going on in this world when people are killed for their religion? People are killed for standing up for Jesus and Christianity. And the idiocy of the news media says, scoffs it off and said there's no attack on Christianity. What are we becoming? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You've got to respond to that. And I want to mention this. And again, there was a comment made after the program last week on Thursday when I said that I would like the ministerial associations, the pastors, church leaders, etc., to call me, and I'd like to have them put on the air. And none called. And that's deplorable. They should be ashamed. Because I'm offering them a time to come on this program and talk about the world problems. And it's not isolated to Africa. It's not isolated to the Middle East. It's not isolated to the UK. It's not isolated to Belgium. It's not isolated to Italy. It's not isolated anywhere in the world. And it can happen here, and it probably will. So wake up, smell the coffee, and get involved. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call is 678-0459. Now, they have light bulbs, all kinds of lighting. They've got all the light bulbs in the high and low wattage, and they've got all the fluorescent lights, a bit my tongue, and all the ballast and all the repair parts, and the wire and the fuses and the cords and everything. So why don't you just get a hold of them today? Yeah, call ahead, 678-0459. They'll have your order waiting for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. You be sure and give them a call today or stop in at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Also, I want to remind you about what's going on over at Valley White Home and Ranch. My goodness sakes, they've got all your yard, garden, fertilizer, mulch, bark, and they're going to be starting with their 4-H clinics before too long, and they've got all the tack for your horse projects and your horse businesses. And if you belong to a certain association, show your membership card, get 10% off. My goodness, they do serve you with everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. At Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean and Mandy, the whole crew, they've got all your feeds. And one thing, too, they've got all your fishing equipment. I went fishing Saturday, and I got to go into Valley White and buy some more equipment. I left a lot of it hanging in the trees. Anyway, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see those good folks today. You know, why are Christians being so cowardly about this and not speaking up? Why are ministers and church leaders, pastors, etc., why are they not speaking up? This is turning into a horrendous happening all over the globe. And we're going to sit back and say, well, we'll turn the other cheek, or say nothing, until the problem is so magnified. It'll be here. It'll be here in the United States. I could not believe this. All the newspaper accounting and everything. Students said the gunmen separated Christians from Muslims, and then they held hostages in a dormitory where they placed explosives around the Christian hostages, and then they shot them. And if they did try to get up and run away, they would trigger off all the explosives. This is absolutely horrendous. And we do and say nothing. Unbelievable. Calls are welcome, 436. Come on, folks. These topics in the news, they need your involvement. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, my. Denny's Restaurant. The great big grand opening of the new Denny's restaurant at 291 Pole Line Road was last Thursday, and Thomas, of course, was on our program talking about it. It was outstanding. They had a great turnout. Lots of people know that Denny's restaurant is good. Absolutely, because they've been to the one at 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And we're going to have our next lunch bunch on April 23rd, Thursday, April 23rd. Don't miss it. You can stop in anytime, all the time at Denny's restaurant, and the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and great service. You're going to love Denny's at 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Wonderful people. And caller, I'll be right there. I also want to remind people we had a nice chat last Thursday with Nick over to Berry Equipment and Rental, and they've got all the equipment for you this spring to get the job done right. They got all the Bobcat equipment. They've got all the Coyote tractors and the Walker mowers. He was really telling us about those Walker mowers. Woo, they're good. And, of course, the Doosan loaders and excavators, everything at 3 locations: South Lincoln in Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental, absolutely the best. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. Hey, I work for one of the largest potato processors in Twin Falls, without saying the name. They import all kinds of these, how can you say it? They're not aliens, but they're other than, they ship them in by the boatload. They call them...
refugees?
There you go. Thank you, sir. Anyway, this one individual was from Iraq, and he made boisterous physical death threats to women in front of supervisors, and he was never, ever reprimanded or fired. Well, I don't work for that place no more, and I finally found him in Jackpot. We come across each other. So I decided to voice my opinion, and the next thing I know, the cops are going to come get me, and I got threatened with racist hatred. I'm a racist, and I never said nothing about his race. I never said nothing about his ethnicity. All I said was, if you want to beat your woman, smack on me, I fight you back. And the next thing I know, the cops show up, and I was going to get thrown in jail because of a hate crime.
Well, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you right there, because I'm at a limited time and I want to get through this a little bit. In some respects, I admire you and your tenacity to confront someone that is not treating people fairly and treating them the way they should in our culture with respect. But then on the other hand, you've got to be fair and say that there was a provocation issue from you to him that may have started a problem that could have turned into a physical altercation. And that probably is wrong in the provocation part that you proposed on your own. However, I will say, in fairness of you and other people, that there is a fine line that we are supposed to walk. We're not supposed to criticize the refugee program. We're not supposed to criticize the CSI administration for wanting to back up this refugee program, basically on the taxpayer's dime. And we are not supposed to criticize that we really don't know a whole lot about these people and background checks, etc., of those people coming in. As a matter of fact, to solidify my point, back in Detroit, many of these so-called refugees have ties to various terrorist organizations, and it's now becoming known and publicly known that a lot of these people want to do something against the United States. So I think we all should be worried. Pardon me for taking so much of your time.
Thank you, Seb. But anyway, I never said anything about his ethnicity or his religion, and it got switched around.
Yeah.
By the next thing I know, I'm going to get hauled off to Elko because I met him in Jackpot, and I never said nothing. But his name, I won't say it.
No, don't.
Obviously sounds like a Muslim, and I'm going, hold on. All I told him, if he wants to smack somebody around, smack me around, because he's a woman beater.
Yeah, and right there I'm going to terminate the conversation, and not to be rude to you, but I think you make a good point right there. Our culture and respect for citizens and respect for women is being assaulted, and this is not just a case, isolated case. It's happened in California, it's happened in Texas, it's happened in Wisconsin, it's happened in Dearborn, Michigan, many other cases such as yours. And I'm going to be talking about this off and on through the next couple of days, and sir, I do appreciate you having the backbone and the spine to call in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All righty, sir.
Thank you. You know, what I see in our culture, and for those that disagree, that's just too doggone bad. With the no borders stance of Obama and a no borders respect by the liberal left and the Democrats, shame on them. Shame be heaped upon them. Because in adjacency and in accordance with what that man was talking about, we are now also, and Frosty and I are going to talk about this later on this morning, we are now bringing in literally thousands of refugee kids and kids from Central America, and we don't know anything about them. These are kids ranging from ages 6 to 18, and we're flying them in at taxpayer expense. Now, it was estimated on the news the other day that each child that comes in here to the United States illegally to care for them, food, medical, housing, etc., is going to cost us $6,000 minimum to begin with. And they're flying them in. That on a plane load of 200 kids comes to $1.2 million per plane load, and they're literally stacking the air with them. Are we dumb or what? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Mazy's. Penetron by Mazy. Penetron soil conditioner by Mazy with a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. Speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and building soil structure, and saving lots of irrigation water. Oh my, that's a big lot of cash saved in your pocket. You better believe it. Penetron treated crops have better roots that reduce stress for water and nutrients. Increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner. Penetron by Mazy. Get the original, not the cheap imitations. Contact your crop advisor to obtain Penetron soil conditioner, or you can call our dear friend Dr. Adrian Arp at 734-2255 for additional information. Also, real quick, don't forget Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service of 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-2485. Hey, this guy can prune the trees, fruit trees, ornamental trees, shade trees, take care of the old stumps out of the ground. I mean, he's great at tree and landscape business for over 35 years, and excellent putting in your sprinklers. I know he put one in for me. Don't forget Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. Caller, please. Now, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay on the line. I tell you what, caller, real quick, let me know you're there. Who's calling, please?
It's Al. I can wait.
Al, I tell you what, here's what I need to do. If you could call me back after I give the Sophie cinnamon rolls away, which you might win if you have the right answer, I would appreciate it. Just about 2 minutes from now. Would you do that for me?
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Hey, right now we're going to have the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology. I want to tell you that I went in for that hearing screening with Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, and I learned so much about hearing and hearing loss, and I absolutely implore you to call her at 312-0957. Make an appointment and have your hearing checked. It's too valuable an asset to let it go. Please call her today at 312-0957. I'm going to have her on my program hopefully this week. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Christine Pickup, 312-0957. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
USDA expects Idaho farmers will plant more wheat and barley this season, following a disastrous 2014 harvest affected by widespread late-season sprout damage. Farmers in Idaho, which has been the top barley production state in recent years, told USDA in a March 31st planting intentions report that they'll plant 580,000 acres of barley this season, up by 20,000 acres, or 4% from last season. Farmers throughout the U.S. plan to increase their planted barley acreage by 10% to 3.258 million acres, according to the report. Idaho's wheat acreage is expected to increase by 4% to 1.327 million acres, compared to the 3% nationwide drop in acreage to 55.367 million acres.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much, and I really respect this lovely lady, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology. Please, I'm telling you, Zeb's really imploring you to do this. It's extremely important. Call her at 312-0957 for an appointment to have your hearing screened at Mount Harrison Audiology. Holy cow, it's time to give away some cinnamon rolls. And if you are the lucky winner, all you have to do is call Sophie's Chatterbox at 436-0354. Let her know when you can come in and get those cinnamon rolls, and she'll have them sitting there for you fresh. And, oh, they're just delicious. They're the size of a Spalding football, each one of them. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. on weekends. And here's the question for today to win a half dozen cinnamon rolls. In the movie, I better not give you the answer to that. I was going to give you the answer to the question. I can't do that. In what movie did the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head become a huge, huge hit? In what movie did the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head become a huge hit? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
That would be Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, which is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
And who's calling?
This is Leon.
Leon Clegg?
Yes.
Do you like cinnamon rolls?
I love them.
Do you like big, juicy, gooey cinnamon rolls?
Oh, don't start it, Zeb. I haven't even got them yet.
Do you like to share your big, gooey, juicy cinnamon rolls?
Oh, sure, I will share.
That's the only way I'm going to give them to you. All right, you call them over there at Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert and tell them you're the winner, and they will line it up for you, okay?
Thank you very much.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Leon Clegg, the winner. Oh, those cinnamon rolls are good. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Al called a moment ago. I hope he calls back. I hope all of you call back. We've got some very important topics here this morning, and I want to get into some of them right after this. Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. At Ramsey's, they provide always warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. I called just a second ago. But anyway, my point was, all I wanted to do was call this guy on his shots. And the next thing I know, I am racist, and I'm going to get thrown in jail for absolutely no reason whatsoever in my own country, just because I called this guy on his shots. And I was astounded. I didn't say nothing about his race, his religion. All I said is, you want to beat women, you want to do whatever, hit me, I'll hit you back.
Yeah,
the next thing I know is I'm going to get hauled to jail for nothing.
I know. I understand your story, and I appreciate and respect where you're coming from. But here's the scenario. You and others like you and myself, when we criticize certain aspects of society today, whether it be Muslims, whether it be the gay, lesbians, and transgenders, whether it be any other group, we are always going to have the label on us of being discriminatory and being racist or being Islamophobic or being a hate monger, or being bigoted. We are being pushed into corners today, especially Christians. And our beliefs are being tromped upon, and nobody is standing up and fighting back. So, I understand where you're coming from, but it's going to get a lot worse, my friend. It's going to get a lot worse.
I'm on your side, Jeff.
All right, sir.
I'm on your side, man.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This no borders situation with Obama is completely out of control. I was listening to various newscasts about this weekend. This is lunacy. This is a total disrespect for our men and women that have died fighting for this country. Thousands of kids are being flown in from Central America on our money, and we are providing them food stamps, along with the rest of their family, medical, housing, and the bill is being passed to the American taxpayer. And I about flipped what little hair I have left on the top of my head when I listened to Marie Harf of the spokesdepartment for the president, when she was asked by a media representative, well, how many of these kids are coming in anyway that the American taxpayer is paying for? And she said, I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. My gosh, it matters when a plane full of these kids, based on 200 kids to the plane, is costing us $1.2 million right up front. That's the initial cost. And we don't know how many are coming in. They're coming in by the thousands. We're paying the airfare. We're paying for their housing, food, medical, clothing, everything. And the White House and this goofy, ditzy blonde with the dark-rimmed glasses says, I don't know. Well, we ought to know. And primarily, we shouldn't even be paying for this. They're breaking the law. Don't you dare, you Democratic bleeding heart liberals out there in the audience, go, oh, the poor children. Well, it's about time to think of the poor American taxpayer. Okay? Call me 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. My goodness. Hey, don't forget Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, next to Dot Foods. You called Tim Vaughn this morning. Right now is a great time to catch him on the old cell phone, 431-7314. And you tell him, hey, we need some on-the-farm grain bins built. Or you tell him we need a building built. Or you tell him you need cement work done. You tell him whatever you need, he'll get you a bid, okay? He'll get you an estimate. They are a family of companies at Streamline Precision for construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and they're authorized dealer in Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. I'm telling you, they're building the brand new Funk Dairy south of Murtaugh. They are excellent. They are good. You call them today and get an estimate at 431-7314. Streamline Precision, the professionals building for you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good Monday morning, Zeb. This is Jeff.
Yes.
And this thing about what's going on with the flying in of the children and the other family members of the ones that are already here.
Yep.
This is all part of this plan to basically pad their voting pool and to incur more and more expense upon the taxpayers and upon our nation in an attempt to destroy it.
There's no secret. Everything you said has been elaborated on by many, many talk show hosts and myself and many other people. You're 100% spot on. But it's being done in a fashion of breaking the law, breaking our Constitution, breaking our belief in a border system, and they're not going to let them across the border, so they're going to fly them in at our expense. Are we idiots or what?
Well, I think that most conservatives are not, which I tend to be the group of with you, I believe. But these liberals Just like that one talk show host said that the liberalism is a mental disorder. I agree. These people have got to have some sort of a mental disease in order to be thinking this way. And they're not realizing what they're doing, what the consequences of these actions are going to be to our nation.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the coin here, with this agreement with Iran over the nuclear weapons deal, get ready, Zeb. Build your shelter, buddy, because you're going to get radiated.
That deal, there is no deal with Iran. I want to be very upfront. There is no deal with Iran. Wait a minute. They supposedly set a framework with a deal for Iran, and the framework is it's like building the frame for a house. It's absolutely nothing more than a sham. It's nothing more than just a false front Western building. It's nothing more than a snow igloo built down in Phoenix, Arizona. It's going to melt away, and we, the American taxpayers, and the American people are going to be the sufferers for this sham.
Sure, it's going to be, I think it will affect the entire world, not just the United States, the American people,
absolutely,
Israel, but it will affect the entire world.
I agree with you. I got to get to the weather forecast here in a minute, my friend. Thank you. God bless you. Appreciate your call. Thank you very much. God bless. He's right. Something, you might laugh at Donald Trump. You might laugh at his exorbitant and way out wacky way he combs his hair. You might laugh at this Mr. Money Man that thinks he may run for the presidency. But you know what? Stop your giggling and your tee-heeing for just a moment. Stop, just for a moment. He was the only person that so far has had the intestinal fortitude, or, in layman's terminology, the guts, to stand up and say, you know what, John Kerry and President Obama, you are absolutely worthless, because when you went to Iran and the meetings over in Switzerland to accommodate them on a deal, the first thing you should have said is, okay, now we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about nuclear, we're going to talk about what you can have and what you can't have. But prior to our conversation, if we're going to have any kind of an agreement whatsoever, you, Iran, will release Pastor Abedini. You will release the other American prisoners immediately. Now, and I would say have John Kerry look at his watch and say you have 3 or 4 minutes to make a call and have them started towards an American embassy. They did not do it. They never once mentioned Pastor Abedini and the others that are held captive in prisoners. No. Kerry and Obama did nothing to get those people released. It's a shame, and it's a sham. It's time for the weather real quick with Red's Trading Post, and they're located at 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. And Ryan Horsley, the manager-owner, and I'll tell you, they've been there in historic Old Town Twin Falls since 1936. Absolutely all your guns, all your ammo, all your accessories, and the sharpest of people that know all about the guns, accessories, and ammo. Absolutely, they are the best. Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Here now is Michael Rogers weather.
Hello everyone, Michael Rogers is at the ranch. Got a mess this week? Yeah, you got a mess. Yes, you have a mess. We're going to start off with a slight chance of rain today. Temperatures are also going to be on the cooler side. A lot of people will like, and meteorologists would like to call this spring weather. Okay, that's what you probably got. In fact, I know that's exactly what you got. So you got a slight chance of rain today. You got a chance of rain and snow mixed tomorrow. You got cloudy and rain all the way through Thursday. You'll come out of it Friday with some nice weather and a nice weekend. 55 for the high today. 30, make that 37 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see them today for all your guns, ammo, and accessories. Hey, don't forget on Tuesday's Dr. History, and it's sponsored by Mini-Cash's Sales at 1321 East Main in Burley. And that's Zach and Joanne and the whole crew with all the windows, the doors, the lumber, the metal and vinyl siding, all the Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment, everything at Mini-Cash's Sales. Right across from the Burley Airport, 1321 East Main in Burley. Mini-Cash's Sales bringing you Dr. History on Tuesdays. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And again, this program is not supporting Donald Trump for president. I'll say that right up front. But I am supporting Donald Trump and his attitude that Americans should have been placed first on the negotiations and the treaty with Iran. No ifs, ands, or buts. Let him go now, and then we'll talk. That didn't happen. Oh, my. You know, I've got to say this real quick this morning, that actors, I've said this so many times in the past. By the way, somebody called me, how are we coming through on the airwaves? It's really fuzzy to me coming down the feed line this morning. If everything's being heard by you on your radios, I'll know it's just my feed line, so let me know, please. Actors without common sense, they don't have I think, the brain capacity of a roboticized turtle. And Robert De Niro came out this last week. I don't know if you heard this or not. I've never liked Robert De Niro. I think he's a punk and a thug in the way he acts and treats people. He said last Friday, when he was asked about politics, actor Robert De Niro said, Hillary Clinton has earned the right to be president. Oh, whoa. Wait a minute. Hillary Clinton has earned the right to be president? Would somebody out there in the radio world please explain to me the word earned? What has she earned to be the president of the United States? What has she done that has just put her up on a pedestal and we should automatically just whoosh her into the Oval Office? How dumb can some of these liberal Democrats be? Well, I guess dumber every day. Because where is there an earning process? Where is this rite of passage that you have earned something to catapult you into the presidency? This is like a Girl Scout selling cookies, and she sells more boxes than everybody else, so she's going to be the president of the United States? She's earned the right to be president? Are you kidding me? And would somebody out there in the radio world just please dial the number and help me, console me, inform me? What in the world would we want Hillary Clinton for as president in the first place? I mean, look at the devastating effects the Clintons have had on this country. Look at Hillary for this mess with the Secretary of State, which was preceded by her lack of doing nothing as a state senator from New York. This woman is absolutely not qualified in the smallest, most minute degree. And people want her as the President of the United States? Why? Don't forget the Great Big Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale coming up this week. My goodness, April 8th through the 12th. Boy, I'm telling you, for the rest of the week, it's going to be outstanding. They're going to have mule clinics, wolf howling contest, horsemanship clinics by Toby Lapp, ranch horse competition, barrel races, cow cutting, team roping, big mule sale on Friday night at 6:30, big horse sale on Saturday at 1 o'clock, Sunday next weekend, team roping. Oh, my! All of this and more at at the great big 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. For more information, contact my buddy Fred Snook at 208-756-2125. Your turn. Give me a call. Come on, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, folks, really, I do appreciate your calls. And I do appreciate your opinions. So come on, give me a call on this and let me know. Another story that I want to get on this morning before I run out of time. And this one just shows the arrogance and, quite frankly, the stupidity of Democrats, especially the Washington State Democratic governor. Yeah, over in our neighboring state of Washington. You know what he did? And we should even send a little letter, a little email, a little something to let him know how we don't like him for what he did. He decided that with an entourage of Chinese people coming to his state of Washington and going to visit his capital, that he, the governor of Washington State, would fly the Chinese Communist flag at the same level as our United States flag. Now, to many of you, that might not sound like such a big deal. But to me, it is just absolutely disconcerting. And so, therefore, I find it appalling that more people than what did call and were outraged, more numbers haven't let him know what a dim bulb he really is. So I think it would behoove us to take the time and effort today to either call the governor of Washington State, or at least leave a message on the switchboard and say, what an outlandishly stupid man you are by putting the Communist Chinese flag next to the American flag at the same height in this United States. What are they thinking? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget the big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, we had Randy Wynn on the air with us last week, and I'm telling you, we were talking about tires. We were talking about front end alignments. We were talking about shocks and struts. We were talking about the best in brake service. We were talking about the best in batteries. We were talking about their big tire sale. You know, tires like the Ultra Z900 all-season design tire? You can get up to 80,000-mile warranty on that tire, depending on the size. Oh, my goodness, and they're on sale right now at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pauline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, and I'm amazed. If you said all of those dealerships without looking at a piece of paper, you could be president.
I don't. You know what? A lot of people have said, would you please send us a copy of that commercial that you did on your program yesterday or whatever, and all of them are ad lib. I have nothing written down.
Well, that's why they are such good advertisements, then.
Oh, thank you.
You're speaking from the heart.
Thank you.
And the memory, obviously.
Well, I credit my memory with my wife because she never lets me forget.
Oh, well, good for her. I think I'll try that on my husband.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that as we look into the politics of these United States and how people are tending to vote, they are not voting for the wonderful United States of America and the things that it stands for. They are voting for their very own selves. What can I get out of the government? And the guy that promises the most will just put him in.
Yeah.
They forget that the money he spends comes right out of their wallet.
You know, Chris, every day I make up a synopsis of news stories that I usually have time for about 7 stories in the first hour. And when you talk about Christians being killed and targeted by the Muslims, when you talk about no borders and the taxpayers are supporting this breaking the law, and you talk about Hillary has earned the right to be president, and you go on down the list, what is the matter with us? Chris, honestly, answer that part of the question. What is the matter with us that we're allowing this garbage to take place in this country?
Well, obviously, people are not sitting around the dining table together and talking about their futures when they are planning to go to the polls. I grew up in a family where we had conversation at every meal, and my dad was, he was a real thinker, and he made us kids think. And I don't even see families eating together hardly.
Yeah.
And parents, maybe the only time they have any influence on their kids is when they're in the car. Well, you're supposed to be watching the traffic and stuff like that. And I think that it's families are not informing, and they're not talking about the important things together, and they're too busy going to some soccer game or something.
I think that what you've touched on is absolutely the truth. And here's the situation, real quick, I've only got 30 seconds left, with this dumb Washington state governor putting the Chinese flag at the same elevation as our United States flag up on his Capitol building. It might not sound like much to some, but it's absolutely against our country.
Well, and you know what? It does amaze me, and he certainly sounds like a traitor. But I read in an article the other day that China owns most of our biggest companies that we have, and we are very proud of, and we think they are American companies.
Yeah.
And the Chinese own them. He owns one.
I sit here though, Chris, and I'm out of time, but I will say this, and I'm sure you'll agree. We are so naive, and we're letting our culture, we're letting our country and its values and our Constitution be just stepped on. And I'm going to fight back. I hope you'll stand there with me.
And we're being led by the biggest bag of wind of them all.
I agree with that. Very good.
I had something else on my mind.
You were scaring me for a moment. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and good morning. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and all of our great advertisers like, let's take a look here, Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide. And get ready, Wheels, Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services always at your disposal, and I've had Kelly on my program many, many times. I got to call Kelly later on today, as a matter of fact. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. They're locally owned and operated, and literally serving all points of the Magic Valley. They will take care of your garbage and get rid of it. They also have all the porta potties, and they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. Hey, I'm telling you what, you better get a hold of them today and get on that route service. Absolutely impeccable. 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Real quick, I also want to say thank you for their integrity and their friendliness and their community-oriented service. I mean, these folks at Hanson Mortuary are absolutely excellent at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, his family, and his staff. And they absolutely take care of you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. And they pledge to serve you as you would want to be served. Please call them today, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, serving you and your family. Real quick, don't forget, next hour we're going to have Fred Snook on the air from the 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale, Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon this week, April 8th through the 12th. It is going to be just absolutely so much fun at the 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale, all this week with horsemanship and clinics put on by Toby Lapp, cow cutting, barrel racing, mule events, along with also the mule sale and the horse sale. It's going to be happening up in Salmon. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and I get a chance on Mondays to talk to one of my dearest friends, and he lives in Golden, Colorado, and we say good morning to Frosty Woldridge. How are you?
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure, Zeb, and highest congratulations to the Wisconsin Badgers being in the title game. I'm excited. The Big Ten, I thought, was going to have a double title, but in this case we've got the Big Ten in there, and Wisconsin is going to be quite the team to beat, so it's going to be an exciting game tonight.
I'm excited, and on the other side of excitement is also misery, because last night Major League Baseball started, and it started with a game between the Cardinals and the Cubs, and the Cubs lost 3-0. Oh, boy.
Didn't the bathrooms back up, too?
I heard something about that.
One of the stadiums had a 200-person line just to get into the bathroom.
Yeah, they were all backed up, and it was a mess. But anyhow, Frosty, I just got to tell you that my anger this morning, I don't even know where to vent this anger. I vented it at politicians. I've let them know that I'm unhappy. I've told the Democrats that I think they've got the combined IQ of a bicycle spoke. I just think this is lunacy that now we're told over the weekend that thousands and thousands of children from South America are not going to be crossing our borders as they be. They're going to be flown into this country at taxpayer expense. We are going to be looking at all of the costs on food, medical, housing, and clothing. Each child that comes in here, we're looking at an initial upfront cost of $6,000. They're bringing in 200 per plane load, which equivalates to $1.2 million per plane that it's costing the taxpayers. Are we dumb or what?
As a matter of fact, and I want every person listening to be very clear about this, we, the American taxpayer and the American citizens, are apathetic. We don't engage. We don't call up. We don't visit our senators in their home offices in our states. We don't take the time to phone in, and we simply don't engage. And since the big money that's up there that's guiding the power brokers completely nullifies we, the American citizens here in the 21st century, and specifically in 2015, and this has been going on for well over 40 years. As long as you don't engage, then those who do engage will take the reins of power, and they will drive the ship of state, if you will, as they wish, and they don't mind making you pay for it. So again, as long as the American people remain apathetic, we will not only continue to allow somewhere between 500 and 700,000 illegal aliens to come across the borders, and that's according to FAIR and capsweb.org and certainly numbersusa.org. And that's the answer. The American people are not paying attention. They're not engaging. They don't vote. They simply don't care. And apathy reigns, and when apathy reigns, then you have exactly what's happening to our country today.
You know, Frosty, you have been absolutely a beacon, a shining light of the problems that are caused because of no borders, a lack of respect for our Constitution and our laws, and the illegal aliens coming into this country. You were the Paul Revere, and I mean this, when you came out years ago and said, hey, this is turning into a massive problem that we can't afford. But when you look at a per plane cost to the taxpayers of 200 kids out of the many thousands that are coming in here, and we're going to fly them in, we're going to clothe them, feed them, and give them medical attention and everything. One plane alone of these kids costing us $1.2 million. I mean, it's like the bank till is open and everybody's robbing the American taxpayers. What are we going to do? Nobody's listening to us.
That's exactly right. Again, let me really bring it again, and I think you've heard it before. We spend $346 billion, B as in boy, $1 billion a year, according to the Edwin Rubenstein report, on illegal immigration in this country across 15 agencies, federal agencies. That goes on every year. I mean, just the 350,000 anchor babies that are born to illegal alien mothers that come in here pregnant, it just completely rips the money right out of your wallet. And there was a HR House of Representatives, HR Bill 178, I think, is trying to stop the anchor baby phenomenon because it's really getting to be extraordinary in its ability to siphon money right out of the taxpayers' wallets. That's you and me.
Yeah.
But again, there's Democrats up there that will vote it down. There's people who have moneyed interest in allowing all of these anchor babies, and you and I pay for it. And again, if you keep electing, and 96% of incumbents keep getting elected. I mean, when you think of Orrin Hatch has been elected for the last century into the Utah senator, slot. You look at Harry Reid, who is intellectually an invalid. The man can't think past his nose. He's so old he can barely totter down the street or down the aisle, and yet he keeps getting elected. Teddy Kennedy, who could hardly walk. I watched him in the Senate one time before he passed on. He was like a penguin walking into the Senate chambers, and then he would growl and give a speech about all the bad things that he's the one that created. Mm-hmm. And yet they kept electing him. And so that's what's happening. And as long as you elect or fail to elect somebody who's going to stand up for the Constitution, we are getting exactly what we have done nothing to change or vote or whatever. And that's what's happening, and that's what's happening to the United States of America right now. I mean, we should be impeaching this president right now for crimes against the Constitution, crimes of absolute illegality, crimes of just lying, just flat-out lying. And yet the American people just sit back and watch it happen, and that's what we're seeing, and the results are coming in.
You know, Frosty, I'm not trying to be facetious when I say this. You and I know each other way too well to know humor versus a serious subject. But it's almost now to the point where if they're going to fly them in and land legally on our soil and omit the borders, I dare say that it might not be too much longer in time when planes will take off from Mexico City to avoid the stress of crossing the border on foot, and they'll be flying in illegal aliens.
You know, I wouldn't put anything past this president and certainly the apathy of the Congress. And again, Boehner, Speaker Boehner, that man has stopped E-Verify from becoming law every year since he's been the Speaker of the House. And Harry Reid, Speaker and Majority Leader of the Senate at one point, stopped E-Verify every year it came up for vote. And E-Verify would have stopped all of these employers of illegal aliens from hiring illegal aliens, and yet that hasn't changed. And we've got somewhere between 8 and 10 million illegal aliens that have full-time jobs in lieu of American citizens, and the fraud is incredible. So again, we keep electing Harry Reid into office. We keep Boxer and Feinstein out of California. California is probably the most corrupt state in the nation right now, with 3 to 4 million illegal aliens just thriving on welfare, thriving on food stamps, thriving on ESL courses for their kids, and just laughing at us. I've gotten, there's one guy that keeps writing me, his name is Pedro El Capitan, and he's a La Raza, and he says, you're fools, you Americans are fools, you pay for my kids' food, we get free food stamps, we get the EBT card, and he's an illegal alien. And he mocks me because I keep writing these articles that actually zero in on the consequences and the situation. And so that's what's happening. To tell you the truth, I'm not optimistic at the end result of this whole thing.
Are you all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
So, again, unless and until the American people engage, and it's like, if you go to newswithviews.com and you'll see my Immigration Shutdown Now series, now part 7. You will be sobered, because what I'm showing the American people in this series is exactly what's coming. 100 million more legal immigrants being brought into this country on airplanes, and we're paying for it, and they're going on welfare, and we're paying for it. They're going into a food stamp and EBT cards. We're paying for it, and they are living on welfare. They are creating a life form. It's an art form of welfare, and we're paying for it. And at some point, we, of course, will go broke. And then you're going to see a tremendous amount of chaos in our society, because these are not Americans. They are not part of our culture. They are not part of our ethos. They are not part of our language. And they have no understanding of what America is all about, and they could care less. And as I said, we're going to fracture this country sociologically. Certainly, we're going to fracture it economically, fracture it financially, as it already is, $18 trillion in debt. I guess the American people just are going to keep sitting on their butts, watching TV, not engaging, and then when it starts coming down around their ears, then they'll say, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah,
and that's what's coming. That's what I see.
I agree with you. We've got a caller with a quick question. Caller fast. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Frosty, quick question. I thought we had immigration reform already in place. Whatever happened to quarantining people and making them become citizens of the United States before they even came in? I mean, that's how we all got here, our forefathers. Next question is why don't we put in place and get rid of all these lobbyists? Because we all know that money buys politics and power. Why don't we get rid of that, and every person that votes in the United States pay $4 to vote, and of that $4, it is equally dispersed between the candidates that are running.
All right, I'll tell you what, caller, those are good points. I'll have them answer that on the air. Thank you for your call. Frosty, good, sharp listener right there. Go ahead.
Yeah, very, very excellent. Let me remind you that the immigration laws that are on the books are very effective. It's a $10,000 fine just to hire an illegal alien if you're caught. It's 5 years in prison. It's for every single illegal alien. It's illegal to transport illegal aliens. It's against federal law to work and employ them. It's against federal law to house them. But guess what? Our House of Representatives and our senators do not enforce the laws. They do not move to enforce the laws. They haven't enforced the law since essentially 1970 with the Immigration Reform Act pushed by Teddy Kennedy, and then the 86 Immigration Reform Act, which John McCain said this will never have to be a problem again because we're going to enforce the borders. The borders are not enforced, and that's because the president and the last president before him, the Bush president, the Clinton president, then the Bush president, and then this president have not enforced the borders. That's a fact. And the Senate and the House have not enforced the president to enforce the borders. There's no enforcement internally in this country. That's why the immigrants are coming in, and that's why they will continue to come in, and that's why those who are making a lot of money And those illegal immigrants don't care. They're not being arrested. They're not being detained. They're not being prosecuted, and they're certainly not being jailed. Tyson Chicken, Montfort, Hormel Foods. You can go on down the line. It's now embedded. The illegality is embedded in our country. The second point is lobbyists. And the laws that are going on. I can tell you this, the laws are not being enforced. There's no adjudication of the laws because the money is so huge and the profits are so great to continue illegal immigration for those who benefit that it's just a money grab. And they're going to make sure that none of our laws are enforced, and that's what's going on. I hope that answered the question. That's the point-blank answer. We are not any longer a nation with the rule of law guiding us because we don't have a president who is using the Constitution as a rule of law, and certainly our senators and House reps are not abiding by the rule of law. And that's the bottom line.
You know, you would think, now bear with me on this for a second, Frosty, you would think that the American families would sit back and say, well, my great-great-grandfather fought at the Battle of the Alamo. My great-great-grand-uncle fought in the Revolutionary War. My so-and-so fought here and there to demand that this country save its integrity and its borders and its Constitution. They gave their blood, sweat, and tears and their lives. You would think families in this country would look at their family ancestry and say, we had relatives that died for the safety and sanctity of our borders, and now today they're not being enforced. And you would think these families would stand up against the government and say, what are you doing? But nobody's doing anything.
That's correct, and let me make this very clear. At one point, most young men served in the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Navy, and the Marine Corps. And there used to be a sense of responsibility, but for since 1970 in the all-volunteer, 1975, all-volunteer Army, I think it's less than 5% of the American public now serves in the military. I mean, this president didn't serve. He was off in Indonesia, for heaven's sakes, worshiping at a mosque. And of course, as we all know, mosques are out to kill the American democracy. We are the great Satan, and we have a president right now who follows that line, and see what he's doing to dismantle our country as we speak. And so we don't have the pride in the past. We don't have. You can ask most high school graduates today what was the Civil War, who won the Civil War, and they wouldn't even know what the Civil War was. And that's been proven in questions and answers. You can even ask college students, and they don't know the basic. They don't know the basic civics of American government anymore. And so that's what's happened. And we've just lost a sense of pride in our country. We don't even know how the Constitution works. Half of us don't vote. 90% of us don't vote in local elections. Half of us don't vote in federal. I think that's your answer, Zeb.
I do too, but real quick, I've only got a minute left. Short answer on this. To show how far we're declining in respect for our nation and respect for our flag, the Washington State governor, in honor of a Chinese group coming over to visit his state capital, he's putting up, and he did put up over the weekend, the Chinese flag, the communist Chinese flag, at the same elevation on the same podium as our United States flag. That's the Washington State governor. What a dummy he is.
Well, understand this, that China is now taking over Vancouver. British Columbia is going to be literally a beachhead. It is already a beachhead for China. China is importing hundreds of thousands. It'll be millions of Chinese into Western Canada here in the next, years, decades, because they're now becoming so powerful. They own Vancouver. That's the language of Vancouver is Chinese. And the big rich Chinese are just paying more to get more of themselves in there. We've got China buying up large chunks of America right now. I mean, America, as I said in my book, America on the Brink, the next add 100 million Americans. You better get prepared for a different kind of America, because it's not going to ever be the America that you once knew. And I don't care if you're in Boise, Idaho. I don't care whatever you are, even in Idaho. You're going to have to get ready for a new America, a different America, a multicultural, multilingual, and multi-ethnic America that you can't even imagine the final result of that. But that's what we're headed for, and that's what's coming, Jeb.
I agree. Frosty, I know we had another call, but I'm out of time. I apologize on that. God's blessings to you. Tonight, the big game, Wisconsin versus Duke. I'm glad to hear that now you've kind of got rid of the green and white for today, and you're going to wear red and white in honor of my Wisconsin Badgers. God bless you, my friend. See you next Monday.
And thank you, and we'll see you next Monday, and God bless the Badgers. Let's get out there and get it done.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Caller, I apologize. I'm flat out of time. I've got to get some sponsors in here and then go to the next segment. I'm sorry. Hey, let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. I bit my lip. I'm sorry, Goober. Anyway, you stop over there and see them today. They've got a brand new shipment of Honda generators in, and they got the Can-Am ATV side-by-sides, and oh my goodness, they got the Kawasaki four-wheelers. I'm telling you, there's just a few days left on SnowCheck, too, for 2016. If you want a brand new snow machine, all you have to do is customize it, built just the way you want for your specifications. Pay $500 down on that machine, and it will come just the way you like it. That's called the 2016 SnowCheck at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. Number to call, 436-4771. And don't forget, Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Also, real fast, while you're on Highway 24 over there in Rupert, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Oh my goodness, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this with Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens. These are really top-notch professionals that understand the protection you need for your home, your family, and your business. So please get a hold of them today. Make an appointment, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, serving you. Really good people. Oh, and by the way, too, I want to remind everybody, let me pull this out of my stack of papers here, that coming up on the 11th, Rogge Auctions is going to have that great, big, huge spring consignment sale. That's coming up this next Saturday. And it's going to be held right there at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds in Rupert, and they are going to have all kinds of goodies there for you. What I would suggest is you go to RoggeAuction.com for an update of all the items. It is going to be a first-class sale. Let me tell you something. And if you have anything you want to consign, I don't know if it's too late yet or not, you call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or my good buddy Cade Rogge at 431-0074. This is going to be a quality sale. A spring consignment sale held at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds this coming Saturday, April 11th at 10 a.m. starting time. Don't forget it, coming up this weekend at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. Let's go to the phone lines real quick, and here she is, a lovely lady ready to come on the program this morning, Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How was your Easter?
We had, honestly, I'm going to take just a moment to respond to that. We had the best Easter that we have had in a long, long time. We got up really early yesterday, went to the sunrise service, and then stayed for breakfast at our church. And then in the afternoon had kind of a brunch and dinner with some very, very dear friends, about 8 of us. It was one of the most memorable Easters that I've ever had. And yourself?
Oh, that's great. That's good. Yeah, it was good. Although yours sounds a lot better than mine, so very nice.
I just really enjoyed Easter and everything that it means. I mean, it's a resurgence and new life and a feeling that what Christ did for us and our future, I mean, it just gave me a kind of a refurbishing of maybe there still is hope.
Yep, I hear you. Same.
Let me ask you this. I have read and studied newspaper articles from the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, our local papers, etc., about what's going on with this Indiana religious freedom law. And I've come down to this, and I'm a simple person with simple terminology, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. This whole thing has showed a lack of courage. The Republicans, in my opinion, have showed a lack of backbone. Indiana Governor Mike Pence has shown that he was ill-prepared to really meet the situation head-on. And it looks like the liberal left is going to kowtow and bully their way through so that Christianity is going to suffer another knockout in the boxing ring. Would you agree with me or not?
Well, yeah, it was somewhat of an insane week. I think we all could see that based on just turning on the newspapers, and really it's a shame that it was so crazy because the bottom line is, these religious freedom laws, they are common sense pieces of legislation. All they do is allow religious freedom to get its fair day in court. It doesn't allow anyone to do anything or not do anything. It's simply a defense that someone can raise in court that just allows the scales of justice to be looked at equally. So with some of the situations that we've seen previously, religious freedom doesn't even get a fair shake. So all these things do are restore freedom and balance back into the equation, which is why the federal version of these laws were enacted in the early 90s.
Carrie, let's break this down a little bit. And I don't care if it takes a little extra time this morning or not, because you're an expert and very well spoken on this subject. The absolute idiocy of the gays and lesbians and transgenders and the liberal left and the Democrats saying that it's going to, with a bill like this and a law like this, it's going to return the United States to a discriminatory policy of like what it was with the blacks prior to the 1960s. That is absolute incompetency for those people to say that. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's preposterous. If that was really the case, then everybody should be booking out of the United States right now, because these books, we have the federal version on the books since the early 90s, and not one of the parade of horribles has ever happened or occurred. The history behind RFRA, and I don't know if you're aware, or your listeners are aware of it, is simply that in the early 90s there was a Supreme Court decision, which incidentally was penned by Justice Scalia, and basically it essentially knocked religious freedom down a couple pegs. And rather than it have, kind of equal weight along with the other First Amendment freedoms, it essentially took the meat out of it in some ways, or took the effect of it off. So what happened was there was this giant bipartisan effort to restore back into the First Amendment the rightful place for religious freedom. So you had an almost unanimous Congress pass this. Bill Clinton signed it into law, then President Bill Clinton. You had Chuck Schumer was one of the sponsors. The ACLU was a big proponent. So all of the people who came out in the last couple of weeks saying, this Indiana law is terrible. Well, what were they? They certainly weren't saying that in the early 90s. And so what happened was originally that federal version, that applied to all the states. And then a few years later, the Supreme Court said, well, actually, no, if the states want to create their own version, they can do so, but this federal law doesn't apply to everyone. And it really was a procedural issue. It had nothing to do with religious freedom. It was a constitutional procedural issue. So what happened then at that time was a number of states said, okay, great, we're going to enact a RFRA right now, and they did. Well, now what we're seeing in the last couple of years, now states again are saying, hey, we want to have a RFRA, a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, just like the federal government does. So that's all this is. It doesn't allow anyone to do something or to do nothing. It's simply, if you get into court, if you believe that your religious freedom has been infringed upon, this allows you to cite it as a defense in court and say, hey, religious freedom should be looked at just like every other First Amendment freedom. It should be given the same amount of weight on the scales of justice, because certainly that's the constitutional thing to do, and that's how it operated for the first 200 years of our existence. And that's all this is.
You know, Carrie, what I'm seeing and listening to, and of course you are exposed to these stories much more than I am on a 24/7 basis, but I'm hearing people like in Madison, Wisconsin, my old home state capital, saying, oh, well, atheists should be a protected class of people. Then I'm hearing in this religious freedom law, the opposers of it, and people with the American Civil Liberties Union saying, well, gays and transgenders and lesbians, they should be in a protected class of people. Is that what it's coming to in America, that we're going to have a class system of government and regulation of those people? Is that what our Constitution is going to change to?
It's a great point. And again, it just shows that people really don't understand what these religious freedom laws are about, because it doesn't pick winners or losers. There's no need for these so-called protected classes, because this law does not do anything to say who wins at the end of the day. It just allows courts to weigh the government's interest and the people's interest fairly, to look at them and say, all right, this is what the government's thinking here, this is what this individual is thinking here. If the government is infringing upon this person's religious liberty, let's take a closer look at that, because religious freedom is important in this country. It's vital to a thriving nation, a prosperous nation. It allows people to have their fair day in court. And unfortunately in Indiana, that proposed fix that went through was no fix at all. It really, what it ultimately ended up doing is that it deprives citizens their day in court, in the sense that it knocks religious freedom down. It rigs the system in advance. These religious freedom laws are designed to ensure balance for everyone, and that so-called fix did the opposite. It knocked it down. And so it's really a disappointment. Now, that being said, Arkansas, however, passed a great federal, Arkansas passed a great religious freedom law, and a law that, again, ensures balance, allows religious freedom to get its fair day in court, doesn't pick winners or losers, but has the court look at both the government's and the individual's interest fairly. And so we really applaud the Arkansas governor for doing the right thing and passing a law that ensures balance for everybody.
Okay, Carrie, let's kind of go back all the way to the beginning of the Monopoly Board, and let's break this down in very simplistic form. Right now, it seems like if we criticize gay, lesbian, and transgenders, if we criticize their lifestyle, if Bible verses are read, if a pulpit sermon is given, or if we criticize gay marriage, we are always on the defensive, and we are not a protected species, and they're coming after business owners like we saw in many cases that you talked about last week. Where are we right now with religious freedom laws that are still going to protect me if I don't want to hire somebody, or if I don't want to provide a service to a gay, lesbian, or transgender? Where are we right now with the weak-kneed, spineless approach to this problem by the Republicans? Where are we?
I think people need to understand that there is a difference in denying anyone based on who they are or how they identify basic goods and services. Like, so for instance, let's take Walmart. People go into Walmart, they buy fill in the blank, right? There's no issue there. However, if someone comes to Walmart and says, hey, can you sponsor our 5K? We want to put your name on our T-shirts. Well, Walmart has a decision there, right? They don't necessarily want their name on every single 5K race out there. And it's the same kind of situation. It's the same, really, deal for what we're talking about here. No one is talking about denying anybody goods and services. However, if we're talking about the government forcing people of faith to participate in a religious ceremony that directly violates their faith's teaching on that ceremony, well, of course that's a problem. We don't want the government forcing anyone to violate their beliefs and force them to participate in something. We wouldn't want, say, a wedding singer to be forced by the government to sing at, say, a political rally supporting a candidate whom she or he deeply opposes. Mm-hmm. That's not American. That's not constitutional. These are violating basic civil liberties. And so I think the starting point, people really need to understand that there's a distinction, and that distinction is everything.
I totally agree with you. We have a caller with a quick question. Caller, real fast. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, I imagine they have lawyers in every state, and I was wondering if they might be able to bring a class action suit against everyone in Congress, House and Senate, for breach of contract to the American people that they took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and none of them are doing it. And I would be more than happy to donate some money towards the lawyer fees.
All right, I'll have Kerry respond. Kerry, would you respond to the caller, please?
Sure, I certainly understand your point, and everyone I think is getting frustrated. We want our politicians, we want the people we elect to protect our freedoms, religious freedom, freedom for everybody, and certainly that's why Congress passed the Federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act in the 90s in order to ensure that balance, in order to ensure that religious freedom gets a fair shake in court. That's all these things are. That's why these states are enacting these laws themselves. They're taking a nod from the federal government, something that we already have on the books. And yes, politicians and elected officials need to really make freedom, religious freedom, a top priority, because when religious freedom is protected, everybody benefits. The economy benefits, individuals benefit, and it has sort of a ripple effect on the other First Amendment freedoms, and it's a good one.
Now, Kerry, what I'm looking at here, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that with the very well-organized leftist approach to this problem, with the ACLU, and then, of course, the gay, lesbian, and transgenders, etc., even the news media made some absolutely frivolous comments last week. CBS News, and I'm not going to give you chapter and verse, you've heard it. CBS News, on one of their morning programs prior to the Final Four in Indianapolis, they came out and said, oh, this is going to be terrible. Why, gays and lesbians and transgenders, they'll go to the basketball game, but they won't even be allowed in restaurants. And see, people listen to that and hear that on the news. Nobody is going to stand at the doorway of a restaurant and ask your sexual preference. I mean, this is lunacy.
It's lunacy, and to these journalists who are supposed to do their due diligence, they're bound by ethical rules, and they're supposed to be reporting facts in the news. My question to them is, have you read the bill? Have you read the bill? Because that's not in there. And this parade of horribles that you are proposing to the American population as something that could potentially happen, it's never happened. It's not going to happen. And if someone raised a RFRA as a defense for those kind of actions, they would be laughed out of court at a minimum. They wouldn't even get there. And so that's not what we're talking about at all. And just to add on to this, we're not just talking about, the Bakers, the Florists. RFRAs have been used to protect freedom for all kinds of religious minorities, people of faith. For instance, that last week we just got denied review at the Supreme Court for our Bronx Household of Faith case. This is the case in New York City where churches and worship groups have tried to rent space in empty public school buildings. They do a lot of good for the community. They feed the hungry. They provide all kinds of great services to their local communities. And the Supreme Court just refused to hear the case, which is very, very sad. After 20 years of litigation, we're getting these people equal access so they can help their communities. Well, New York does not have a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and if they had, that could have been used as a possible defense for these churches and these worship groups to say to New York City, hey, our religious freedom matters. You need to take a look at it. You need to weigh this equally with the interests of New York City Board of Education. But New York didn't have one, and if it had, it could have helped.
I'm looking at this. I want to go back just for a second, and we'll wrap things up, Kerry. But, when you start hearing about protection of certain classes of people, and then the media getting involved in this and saying, well, that class of people, they're protected. You can't say anything bad about them. You can't write about them in the newspapers. Commentators, talk show hosts like myself can't criticize them. And you develop a class of people in this United States, different classes. Our First Amendment rights and our Constitution is in the mud, and it's never going to be revived.
Right, and the question is, how many classes can we possibly create? And this is crazy. Again, the parade of horribles has never happened. It's not going to happen. But it's important that people's freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of religion, freedom of press is protected at all costs. That is the reason America became the economic powerhouse that it did. It has been this shining light to so many nations in the world. This is why it's vital that politicians and elected officials remember that freedom should always be protected. Our First Amendment freedoms are there for a reason, and nothing should get in that way.
All right, Carrie, every week we always say, well, for people to weigh in and read more or hear more about what's going on with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and then you always give the websites, etc. But what about people that want to get involved? What about people that want to help fight back for what is right and what is wrong in this country? What would you tell them to do?
I would tell them to take a look at what's going on in their states. So much of this stuff happens, on a very kind of grassroots level. They need to take a look at what's going on in their towns, what's going on in their cities, what's going on in their states. Take a look at any kind of religious freedom legislation their states are looking to pass. Look at so-called discrimination laws that towns and cities are trying to pass. They need to remain vigilant. They need to remain engaged, because I think there are a lot of people who value and cherish religious freedom in this country, but we need those people. We need everybody to remain vigilant and to keep their elected officials accountable. And I think it really starts there.
Once again, give us the websites, please, if you would, Carrie.
Sure. It's AllianceDefendingFreedom.org, or they can go to adfmedia.org.
Excellent job this morning, and we'll keep swinging in the corners just like you. If you give us a call, we'll always keep fighting for you. Thank you so much. Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom.
All right, thanks, Ed. Have a good day.
God bless. Thank you very much. Wow. Yeah, I want to talk to you after I do the weather forecast about developing classes of protected people. Where in the world are we headed? Right now, the weather forecast is brought to you by some dear, dear friends of mine, and that's Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, Nicole and Alex Pratt. Oh, my goodness sakes. I've got to get over there sometime this week, and I have to get my T-shirts and my sweatshirts and my caps and everything all finalized. We're going to start selling that again, and, of course, they can make anything for your business, for business promotional items, and, by the way, too, for the upcoming Women's Expo Conference in Burley. If you need banners for like your booth space and everything, just call them at 436-2293 or stop over and get them ordered. And if you tell them that you heard it on my program, you get 25% off. Oh, yeah. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. They are the best. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is at the ranch. Got a mess this week? Yeah, you got a mess. Yes, you have a mess. We're going to start off with a slight chance of rain today. Temperatures are also going to be on the cooler side. A lot of people will like, and meteorologists would like to call this spring weather. Okay, that's what you probably got. In fact, I know that's exactly what you got. So you got a slight chance of rain today. You got a chance of rain and snow mixed tomorrow. You got cloudy and rain all the way through Thursday. You'll come out of it Friday with some nice weather and a nice weekend. 55 for the high today. 30, make that 37 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, Michael. Brought to you by Mad River Laser at 502 E Street, right on the square in Rupert. Nicole and Alex Pratt at Mad River Laser. You stop in and see them today or give them a call at 436-2293. Wonderful, wonderful people. What about this? I want to go back just a minute and talk more about this. Madison, Wisconsin. My old home state. I guess there's some really, liberal left dummies back there. They are promoting in Madison, Wisconsin, that atheists should become a protected class of people. And then, in the news media, this last week, because of the enacting of the Indiana-style religious freedom law, the ACLU coming out and saying people who are in a protected class. Are we going to lower American standards? And it would be lowering American standards, and it would be putting some of us on a tier system to where we'd have to look up and say, well, we're not in that class of people. Well, they're above us. They have specially protected status. We can't say anything about them. We can't write anything about them. Oh, they're honored. There are people that want to put gays, lesbians, and transgendered in a protected class of status. We already have laws on the books that protect us for assault and battery and murder and other crimes to where we're equal. according to our Constitution. But are we going to think honestly about developing protected classes of people that are above reproach and above us even talking about them, or perhaps administering some rebuttals to what they want to do, or change our lifestyle, or change our morals? Think about this, people, please. Classes of people that are protected? America is coming to that? Oh, God, help us all. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Settle down.
I'm settled, my friend.
The plan is working. Flood this country with uneducated people who will overpopulate, and they're going to change this country because they are so easily controlled. They've already come from countries that are living under communist rule and socialist rule, and this is where the major problem comes. Whether we're going to be able to overcome it or not, something else.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let's go back to what I was saying, Tony, just a minute ago. Now, you're a little bit older than I am. Did you ever in your lifetime envision that America, land of opportunity, the home of the brave and the free, that we would start developing classes of protected people that you can't criticize, you can't scrutinize, you can't talk about, etc., because they are, quote-unquote, better than you?
You know, a lot of the stuff that's happening now is a first for me, because I grew up in a whole different atmosphere, where people stood on their own 2 feet, supported their families, didn't ask the government for anything, but that's all changed.
Yeah. Yeah, and to think that we have people that are saying that there should be protected classes that are above reproach and there's no criticism, and if someone like me on the radio is going to criticize gay marriage and criticize the gay lifestyle, oh, well, he's done. He's off the air. His First Amendment rights are no longer valid. Tony, this is a slippery slope that is extremely scary.
Well, uneducated people, unfortunately for us, are the ones that are causing all these problems.
That's true. God bless you, and I hope you had a happy Easter.
I did.
All right, Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't want to live in a society where some people are, they're the sacred cows of India. They are above reproach. I don't want that in America. Do you? Don't forget Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, next to Dot Foods. You call Tim Vaughn today at 431-7314. They can build anything. That's right. They're a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and they make a coordinated, very accurate, confidential, and consistent timeline to meet their clients' demanding needs of when they want it, when they have to have it built for their business. So you check with them today. Right now, they're really involved in putting a lot of on-the-farm grain bins up, and of course, they're an authorized dealer in Sioux Cub, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings, and they're doing a lot of cement and concrete work for mangers and feed alleys, and they're also building that brand new Funk Dairy just south of Murtaugh. They are busy. They are good. Call them once again, 431-7314, Tim Vaughn, and they'll get the estimates ready for you. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The professionals building for you. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. Give me a jingle on the landline. Oh, busy morning news-wise, and we've got a lot of things we didn't even have a chance to get into this morning. Tonight is the NCAA championship, and it's going to pit Wisconsin Badgers. Go Wisconsin! They haven't been the national champion or a champion since 1941, way before I was born. Well, not way before I was born. And they're going to be playing Duke. Now, if you get a chance sometime and you want to get a good reaction, go up and ask my wife how she and what she thinks of Duke University and their basketball program. Woo! She wants to see them go down in flames, and she has become an outstanding Wisconsin Badger fan. So it's going to be a good game tonight, Wisconsin versus Duke for the NCAA playoffs. It's going to be great. Don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Today, the special Southwest chicken salad, green leaf lettuce topped with corn, black beans, tomatoes, onion rings, and grilled chicken served with soup. Oh, does that sound good? Southwest chicken salad at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Always a great menu item, always great specials at the Chadwick Sports Grill. You stop in and see those good folks today. That does sound good. Next hour, we're going to be talking to Salmon Select Horse Sale, Fred Snook. And then at 10:30, we've got Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, calling in regards to what's left to clean up, fix up, and write up as far as bills are concerned for the legislative session. So don't you go away. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Oh, here we go. Good morning, and welcome back to hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and a big spring tire sale going on right now. Also, some of our great advertisers, let's not forget. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them, locally owned and operated, and serving you at 734-6969. And also Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Wonderful people with everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. We're going to have our guest with us on the phone momentarily, but I also want to remind you on Thursdays we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days. And, of course, our 2 sponsors for the Cassia County School Days include Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got everything for spring over there. They've got all the spring clothing, the spring dresses, the clothing for the little ones, the boys and the girls, and don't forget they've got all the shoes and everything for the babies. Everything for the babies. And everything is gift wrap free. Stop over there to Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And then also don't forget, too, Ambulatory Surgery Center. They can save you a ton of money on your surgeries. Absolutely. Procedures like colonoscopies, eye surgery, knee procedures, hand surgery. Please call them today. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, 677-8888. 677-8888. Along with the Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and I got a good old friend of mine on the air, and he's been on this program many times in the past. And I want to say good morning to Fred Snook up at the 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale in Salmon. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. We're doing fine here in Salmon, Idaho. How are you folks?
Well, I am fantastic. Well, here you are, Fred. It's the 11th hour. You'd better have everything ready to go, starting with the big mule and horse sale this week. Tell us about some of the opening festivities. What's going to happen?
Well, actually, mules and horses will start arriving here in Salmon as early as tomorrow, Tuesday. We expect quite a few in here Wednesday. But the first real activities start on Thursday. Thursday we will have, Wednesday we have Steve Edwards coming from Arizona to start his mule clinics. That's 9 a.m. Again, Steve Edwards, a nationally known mule clinician, so his clinic starts Wednesday morning at 9, then a second clinic in the afternoon. Thursday, likewise, again, Steve Edwards clinics in the morning. The sale mules are available for inspection, is starting at 8 on Thursday. Then on Thursday afternoon, we'll have a quick showing for an hour of some of the sale mules in the actual round pen.
Okay.
Lap will have a
horsemanship clinic in the main sale ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the Idaho Outfitters and Guides Association will have the big welcome to the sale social hour and dinner at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
6 o'clock is the Idaho State Championship wolf howling competition, and that's from ages as young as 3 to 90, any age, and it's quite a fun thing. Live music, and so a big full day on Thursday to kick things off, and then Friday we really emphasize the sale to mules, but also have a big ranch horse competition so folks can see 40 to 50 of the actual sale horses compete, doing ranch horse type activities in the main big outdoor arena.
Okay. And then along with that, at 6:30, the big mule sale, right?
Right. The 16th annual mule sale, 60 mules, mostly riding mules, excellent mules, some packing mules, but the main emphasis today is more on the riding mules, become very, very popular for trail riding, moving cattle, whatever. And we have a great selection of sale mules.
All right. Now, that's going to take place on Friday with the mule sale, and then everybody should be...
6:30 on Friday.
Right.
Before that, during the day on Friday, the mules start again with a Best in the Round Pen Challenge at 10 o'clock. That's judged, and a winner chosen.
All right.
Then at 12 noon is the ranch horse competition. At 1 is the mule packing competition. And at 2:30, the crowd favorite is the Jeff Allen Memorial Mule Race. 9 of the sale mules in a great race. The crowd really loves that.
Well, now tell me, Fred, how do you conduct that race? Is it on a straightaway track, or is it on an oval track?
Straightaway race, approximately 300-plus yards, right there in front of the main grandstand.
Oh, my goodness. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, what leads up to the big horse sale on Saturday at 1 o'clock?
So Saturday in the morning, breakfast out there from 7 on. Then at 9, open performance showing of the sale horses. At 10 is the trail horse competition. 11, the rope horses perform there in the outdoor arena. So a lot of chances to see the sale horses in action. Then at noon, there's a big social hour, lunch. And then at 1 o'clock is the 43rd annual Salmon Select Horse Sale. 130 horses from throughout the Northwest will be here.
Okay. Now, is this pretty much a customary number, 130 plus horses?
Right.
Or
That's, we limit the number, so that's our max.
I see. And then it's not done on Saturday. After the sale, what happens then?
Well, Saturday, we have the big horse sale dance downtown, and then Sunday is team roping, and starting at 9 o'clock with the entries, then from 10 on, they basically rope throughout the day, sponsored by it's the Salmon Select Horse Sale team roping, with 4 different categories. And so that goes from about 10 till approximately 5 o'clock.
Okay. And then on Monday, you're just going to go and hibernate for a while and take a mid-spring nap, right?
Well, actually, on Monday is about our busiest because, number one, we have to bring everything back in from the fairgrounds and start doing all the sale calculations and getting the funds distributed to the sellers, etc., and doing all the paperwork.
Now, Fred,
we have several days after Sunday before we can start to recuperate.
I can understand. Let me also emphasize that if people want to take a look at some of the mules and some of the horses that are going to be at the sale, can they go to a website?
Right. It's www.salmonselectsale, all one word, salmonselectsale.com.
All right.
Boy, that brings it up and has colored photos of almost all the sale horses and sale mules and their descriptions, etc. So no, they can get a lot of info just going to that website. It also has the schedules, information on motels, history of high-selling horses, just a lot of history.
Okay.
But most important, it has all of the sale animals are on that website.
Absolutely. And then a telephone number to call in case they want to call up there and find out a little bit more in addition to the website.
Is 208-756-2125. Again, 208-756-2125. And that's right here to our office.
All right. Fred Snook, a dear, dear friend of ours, been on this program for quite a few years. The big 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale coming up this week at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. Fred, God bless you, man. Thanks for being on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. It's going to be nice weather, so we hope the folks can come on up.
All right.
It'll be bare and dry, and looks like it's going to be in the 60s and partly sunny.
All right, Fred, God bless you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. There is one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet in your life, Fred Snook, and I appreciate him coming on in behalf of the Horse and Mule Sale going on in Salmon this weekend. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is probably on the way, give me a jingle. I want to talk just a little bit about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley with some really, really good friends of mine. They have done a lot to help me, and they can do a lot to help you. They will help you get back to feeling and being you. They know all the sports medicine. They know all the exercises, and believe me, they got the hydrotherapy pool there with the treadmill in the bottom, and oh my goodness, it's helped my knee and my hip. You call them for an appointment today, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, over the weekend, as they hammered out this so-called deal with Iran, and Obama gets up there and starts to lecture us with that look on his face, and you say to yourself, the other day, a couple weeks ago, he declassified the information about whether or not, Israel had nuclear weapons or didn't, and of course they do, but nobody knew for certain.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, he's literally ushering in Armageddon. I mean, this guy is a complete anarchist. And you say, well, when he first got elected, my daughter called me 3 or 4 times, and she says, in the scriptures, it describes Obama as, it describes the Antichrist, and it looks like Obama is him. Now, I don't believe that he has the whatever to be the Antichrist, and of course, some people believe otherwise anyway, that maybe the Antichrist isn't actually a being, it's just a thing. Of course, I don't know how you feel about that, but when he declassified this information about whether or not Israel had, nuclear weapons, and now all the neighbors, think they have to have them, let alone Iran, and then, this deal with Iran, this guy...
Well, let me jump in and help you a little bit in your feelings. What Obama is doing is destroying any fabric of consciousness, awareness, and friendship with our allies. He is destroying the Israeli ally system that we've had with this country, the United States, for years, and decades. And to tell people about what the nukes are and what the treaty was and the agreement is basically laying threadbare for everyone in the world to see and know what the capabilities of Israel are and their weaknesses. And he just basically, I think, hung them out to dry. And at the same time, the same man he's doing everything illegal against our Constitution as far as breaking our borders and letting in all the illegal aliens and the American taxpayer spending for these kids not to walk across the border. Now they're being flown in at our expense. Every single thing this man has done in his administration has been against the Constitution and our value system, and I will publicly say I absolutely abhor this man and his politics.
Well, see, that's the thing, is he really trying to usher in Armageddon? And you go, oh, that's, well, I don't know. Declassifying this thing about Israel with the nuclear weapons, to me, is going to, now it'll never be settled.
Yeah.
I mean, and how soon, will it occur? And it really, is he the Antichrist? I mean, 7 years of tribulation. I mean, I don't know. Is that what we have suffered through with this?
Well, let me take it one step further here, Randy, with you real quick. Why did not Obama set down some guidelines and basically some monopoly board rules to Iran when he sent John Kerry over as Secretary of State? Why didn't they up front, like I said earlier this morning, and Donald Trump had the backbone to say this on television this morning, why didn't they up front look at Iran across the table and say, okay, now listen, we're going to start negotiating with you over these nuclear talks, but no negotiation. You will, in 15 minutes, release Pastor Abedini and the other prisoners that you've had hostage, and we will start the talks after we get confirmation that they are now being started towards American embassies. Then, when we get confirmation, we will start talking to you about nuclear treaties. Not until then. That never happened because Obama and Kerry never even brought it up.
I'll tell you what, the people that defend this, the insincerity of their arguments to defend this, and you say, how in the hell do you sit there and make no sense whatsoever? And then there's people who actually out here in the in the hinterland or wherever that listen to this and believe it, and then he gets up there and lies to us about what's in the agreement or covers up what's left.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Randy. I don't know about you and your finances, but I guess if you're satisfied with the way things are going with this administration and you're happy that they're going to be bringing in all these illegal aliens at your expense, each plane load of children with 200 children is going to cost us $1.2 million up front, and they want to bring in literally thousands upon thousands of these kids from Central America. I've had enough. As a taxpayer, and have been for many, many years, I'm throwing my hands up in the air. They beat me. I can't keep up with their robbing my pockets.
I tell you, you say to yourself, when does it end?
Yeah.
And how do we survive it? Is it going to get better? Are the Americans?
But doesn't it amaze you, Randy? Doesn't it amaze you that even people in this area, they will stand up and want to fight. They'll stand up and want to get mad if you criticize Obama and his policies. You criticize about closing the borders down. You criticize about what's being done on a national level. They think you're a kook and a crackpot.
It's a hell of a mess.
All right, well, listen, I always appreciate your call, Randy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. I don't mean to sound depressing, but we have got to change things, folks. We have got a anti-Christian atmosphere going on in the world, not just in certain places, but the world, to where now Christians are not safe. Somebody might walk up to them and say, "Are you a Christian?" Bang, you're dead. We have got no borders, no respect for our borders, and our President of the United States is defying our laws and our borders and flying in at our expense illegal aliens. People that are here illegally, and we're paying for the food, the medical, the clothing, the housing. Nobody seems to care. Then we have zany, brainless twits like Robert De Niro, the actor, saying that someone like Hillary Clinton has earned the right to be president. And the stories go on. In my old state of Wisconsin, I'm giving you some of the headlines this morning. The zany dummies are coming out and saying that people that are atheists should become a protected class of people in this United States. And then we have the Washington state governor flying the Chinese Communist flag right next to the American flag at the same level. Now, You tell me I get over enthusiastic about criticizing politics and criticizing the news stories? You're doggone right. Because we're going to heck in a handbasket. Ay, ay, ay. Give me a call, 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587. Well, I'm waiting for your call that I hope is coming in. Once again, we're very blessed to talk about some really, really good people on this program. And they include Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. They can build anything. That's right. All you have to do is call and ask them for an estimate on your project. They have vast experience in industrial development that includes dairies and feedlots and food processing and other agricultural applications. And believe me, they make a very coordinated and accurate and confidential effort to meet your timelines as to when to start, when to finish. Call them today for an estimate. Ask for Tim Vaughn at 431-7314. That number again, 431-7314, Streamline Precision. And they're currently building the brand new Funk Dairy just south of me here in Murtaugh. They know, and they can put up all your on-the-farm grain bins for on-the-farm grain storage. They're good. They're really good. Streamline Precision, the professionals building for you. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say about what we've been talking about this morning. And coming up this next half hour, in just a very few minutes, we're going to hopefully catch Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. And he's going to be available for us on the program. And we're going to ask him about some of the outstanding things that are still facing our legislative session for 2015 and how they're being addressed. I know the transportation issue is one big ball of concern, and some of the other smaller issues that they're probably still going to have to stay in session for maybe the remainder of this week. So we're going to have him on the air in about 5 or 6 minutes. Don't go away on that. A couple of notes here that I've been asked to publicize. On April 11th, don't forget there's going to be a Lexi Bingham benefit concert with Muzzy Braun at the Turf Club, and that's going to be on April 11th. And then also on Monday, April 16th, there's going to be a community health fair at Burley High School, and that's going to be from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Burley High School, and they're going to have hearing and vision screenings by CSI Head Start, CSI Dental Programs, and others, so don't miss that. 2 items I wanted to get on the program for you to put on the calendar for this morning. Wheels, how in the world are you over at the station? Everything going okay for you today?
Yeah, everything's great. Everything's going smooth as planned. And
did you have a good Easter?
Actually, I did. Besides some health issues with my younger brother, we did enjoy our Easter weekend. It was good. We got to hang out with the family. Quality time, you know.
All right, well, now, wait a minute. I'm a little concerned. Is your brother going to be okay?
Yeah, he'll be fine. It's something that happens occasionally.
Okay.
You know, it's just something, you know, that him and I have to deal with.
Well, we'll keep you both in our prayers. I'll guarantee you that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, and I just want to compliment you. You're doing a fine job. And don't forget, put this on your calendar, that on the 23rd, we're going to have our next Zeb's Lunch Bunch over at Denny's Restaurant, so we certainly hope you can join us.
Okay, yeah. I will put that in my phone, and I will look forward to that.
All right. We're going to send it back over to you now at the main studios. Wheels, take it away. We're going to have about a 3-minute break and then come back with Scott Bedke.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, and I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning to you, last half hour. And right now we're going to go to the phone lines, and we're very blessed and fortunate to have the Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Well, I'm well, Deb. How are you getting along?
Oh, we're just hanging in, hanging on, and I would imagine that you, after a long and very serious legislative session, are ready for this thing to come to an end, but there are some things that have to be taken care of. Tell us about some of the loose ends that the legislative session has to take care of before adjourning.
Well, there's several things, and of course, it's human nature. If you have a 90-day session, that there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens in the last 10 days. If we have a 6-month session, there's going to still be a lot of stuff that happens towards the end of the session. And if you're like Congress and they go year-round, then you never get anything done because there's no deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, I mean, we're at the very last week, hopefully, of the legislative session, and I think that I've written down 5 major things here that that the legislature has taken up and that we need to have closure on, in my opinion, before we're done. The good news is that the education issue, we've made some major strides there this year. And hands down, that will be the greatest accomplishment for this session. We've got broad support, and for the first time in my memory, having nearly unanimous votes on the House and Senate floor with regard to the not only the policy but the budgets that support the policy. So that's a good thing, and we can come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's major. A major rewrite on the way we pay teachers that incorporates accountability, but the teachers groups and the educators, stakeholders have bought into this as well. So that's a good thing. We have some unfinished work on taxes, as far as I'm concerned. We have unfinished work on the transportation issues. We have some unfinished work, in my opinion, on the federal lands issue. We also have some challenges and some unfinished work with regard to the water issue in the state, and so those are the 5 areas that I think that we wanted to do. I said at the beginning of the session that we would count this session a success if we did 3 things. Number 1, make major investment into the infrastructure of the state of Idaho, not only in the roads but also into the education system. And at the same time, we needed to go to our tax code and position Idaho in such a way as to create and attract new business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the states around us have done major rewrites of their tax structures, and we've got to do something like that in order to keep up. Keeping in mind that most of the businesses, 4 out of every 5 businesses in the state of Idaho are small businesses, and they're LLCs, they're LLPs, they're sub-S corporations. Traditional partnerships, traditional sole proprietorships. We're not C corporations,
right?
For the most part, and so we need to, so our efforts to this point have been concentrated on small business and individuals.
Let me jump in here, and in the time remaining, we got about 10 minutes remaining. Let's dissect each one of these issues and see how many doors need to be opened before we can finalize these issues. What about the tax issue? How far away are you as a legislative session of coming to completion?
Well, when I get off the phone here with you, I'm going to go down to the governor's office, and we're going to pick up where we left off last week. And that is to see if, when you switch from a graduated income tax system like we have to a more flat system like I am proposing, then that some citizens end up having to pay a little bit more tax. And we need to make sure that if that happens, that it's fair and that it's justified, and it's not just an arbitrary, action.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. If that comes together, you'll see the House maybe as early as this afternoon, but for sure tomorrow morning, sending another bill, a standalone bill, that just addresses this to the Senate for their consideration.
Now,
that's where the taxes are. We could come to closure on that fairly quickly.
Okay. Now, I would imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, the transportation issue with the funding for the infrastructure, our roads and bridges, that's a little bit tougher nut to crack, right?
Well, it is, and of course, the numbers that were kicked around at the first of the session are numbers that are frankly unrealistic. I don't see us putting taxes on that's going to raise north of, $200 million. I think that the range that is going to be a lot closer to $100 million, if we even end up doing it, than it is to $200 million. Of course, the House is going to be collectively is going to be more for the lower number, and the governor's office, of course, and the others would be for a higher number. But frankly, Zeb, I just don't have the votes in the House to get there. I mean, regardless of what maneuvering or what leveraging happens, I just don't have the votes in the House to get where some of these people want to get. But that doesn't diminish the fact that, and there is a recognition in the House that we've got to make we've got to put enough new money into the system so that we can keep up with the maintenance requirements of our road system.
What's the sticking point, Scott?
I said it's going to be a little tougher nut to crack. We've sent bills over to the Senate. They're going to, they tell us they're not acceptable, so they're going to put some Senate amendments on the House bills and send them back. I suspect that those, that there's going to be things in those Senate amendments that the House Transportation Committee is not going to like, and then they'll recommend to the House that we not concur in the Senate amendments. Now, this is kind of a little out in the weeds as to our procedures here. But then we'll have one more chance at it, which would be to create a conference committee between the House and the Senate to work out the differences between the two approaches. I suspect that if I were betting this morning, that's how that's how I see this unfolding, and that's going to take 2 or 3 days for that all to happen.
But do you
where you're at on transportation?
Yeah, but do you think
there's willingness to do something, but there's not willingness in the House to do the $262 million that they talked about at the first of the session?
But do you think, honestly, Scott, my listeners have called and asked me about this since early this morning, do you think that issue will be tabled as a stalemated issue for this session and put on the back burner, or is there something definitively going to end on that transportation issue?
That's a good question. I would say, this morning I think that we will probably end up doing something, but not the huge numbers that I described.
Okay. All right.
And I guess this would be a question for you, Sam, as a constituent. I mean, if we don't have consensus, do we kick the can down the road for another year? I don't know the answer to that. I think that we need to be doing something, but if everybody just gets mad and will not compromise or will not negotiate here, then I can't see keeping everybody here just to do that. Maybe some time off is exactly what the problem needs. You can't fix. Sometimes problems have got to get larger before you can fix them.
Right.
And that may be where we are here. I know that sounds to some like I would be giving up, but which I'm not prepared to do, frankly. And that's where we're at. But anyway, you can't force these guys to make a vote that they will not make, and That's all there is to it.
I think I would answer that by saying this, and we're good enough friends you'll understand where I'm coming from. I think a stalemated issue that's very important for the state of Idaho, especially that the left, the Democrats, and especially the left-wing media, including like our own Times News, I'm afraid that they would absolutely hammer the Republican Party and you and others right down into the plowshares if something is not passed, and I don't think they'd allow you to wait another year. I think they'd be out for blood. I think something has to be done and finalized.
Well, I think, I certainly, I think what you said is exactly true, that, that the newspapers will criticize us for that, and frankly, and that would be at least valid to a point. But by the same token, I'll never be one that will carry out a political agenda based on what the newspapers say one way or the other. Right. Frankly, but. That's because I had a good job before I found this one.
Let me talk to you a little bit about federal lands in the time remaining. And again, I'm a little bit embittered at the left and the Democrats and the media in this country and in this state, criticizing a lot of us that want to see the resumption and take over of federal lands to the state. I think it would be a good thing. Am I wrong in my thinking?
No, not at all. In fact, it was interesting. The hill that we can always defend as a state is the following: the state of Idaho has 2 million acres of forest land, range land, etc. And we do a better job. It doesn't matter how you want to measure land management, what criteria you want to use when you measure land management, whether it's a biological criteria or it's economic criterion. But we do it better than the feds do. And if we had another 2 million acres, then we could do, over time, because we would receive this forest land in a degraded state. Mm-hmm. But over time, our land management models, that of responsible harvest, thinning, etc., we would have a healthier forest. And so there's no doubt in my mind that the state of Idaho, in an incremental approach, could, we're doing good with 2 million. Could we do it? We could do another 2 million. We could do another 2 million. We could do another 2 million, etc. So there's that side of this thing. But then it begs the whole question of whether or not we're on equal footing with the other states, and why should we have to prove this to anyone? Right. I understand that as well. So I know that the sportsmen that are listening are concerned about access. They're concerned about being able to do all the things that they've come to love about Idaho, under this management shift. But, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the state owning and managing its own land, just like the other states have been allowed to do. Absolutely. If we could go back to statehood, and we agreed to having only 2 sections per township dedicated towards the school systems here in the state. If we could go back and revisit that agreement, I think that every Idahoan, environmentalist, and clear across the political spectrum, if we could go back and revisit that decision, there's none of us that wouldn't say we'd rather have 4 sections per township, like Utah and New Mexico and Arizona got, rather than the 2 sections that we got. Mm-hmm. None of us would, we would go back, we would take the better deal. So that's not on the table right now, being able to go back, but it kind of is. The federal government losing money on the management of the federal lands in Idaho, and right next door to it, the state is realizing, well, is making money off it, and we're supporting rural infrastructure, and we're putting money into the schools, but at the same time, the biological results are every bit as good as, if not better than, the federal. This is, you know how I feel about this.
Absolutely.
It's going to take some patience on our part. And persistence. And I think we've got a good story to tell as a state, and I'm going to tell it every chance I get.
All right. Now, the fifth subject that you mentioned is one that really perked up my ears, and that's water issues. What water issues are still very in limbo during this legislative session?
Well, there's some good news and there's some bad news. The good news is we've got, and they haven't passed yet, we've got increased monies coming to the aquifer, to the recharge program. So we put $5 million ongoing last year. Looks like we'll be able to add some to that this year. And that's so that every spring when the water is leaving the state, instead of leaving the state, we can put it in the ground. Now, it's going to take some investment in diversion works and fixing some of the bottlenecks in the existing canal systems that we have. But we've already started doing that, and last year we put in as much water as we've ever done to this point. We need to build on that success. I guess the good news, that's the good news. But the bad news is that we've had a pretty dry end of January, February, and March. And so the reports that are going to come out, that are going to always come out the 1st of April, are going to show that that there's going to be water too. I'm afraid that the Surface Water Coalition is not going to be getting all their water, and that's going to put added pressure on the groundwater community to come up with their mitigation water. And that's always, but these are decisions and things that have to be made at the 1st of April. And then the heck of it is we've still got 6 weeks of potential precipitation, and so no one wants to go out and buy or rent a bunch of water in the water bank and then not have to use it. But we're at that crunch time where those decisions have to be made, and because of these reports that are going to come out here soon, and we haven't been getting the storms. That's going to, it's just going to be one more thing to worry about.
Scott, overall, as you look back at the session in its entirety, are you satisfied or dissatisfied as to the net result without the issues that we talked about this morning?
I would be, on balance, satisfied. What we've done here as a state with regard to education is a good thing. I mean, so what does that mean in real life? What's that going to mean in Murtaugh, Idaho, or in Buell, Idaho, or in Cassia County this year? Well, that means that the teachers, the new kid that's coming out of college that wants to teach school, and that we hire them in these school districts, the money that the state sends to those local school districts is going to go up substantially for that new teacher. So instead of the $31,700 that he or she was offered last year, with no upside potential for 6 years, so that would be their starting salary is the same salary that they could expect after 6 years. Now has gone to the starting would be at $32,700. And then within 4 years, they would be at $40,000. And in 8 years, they would be at $50,000, as long as they meet all of the criteria with regard to the accountability. The teachers that are already there can expect a similar trajectory. That within 8 years, they would all be at $50,000. The ones that have been there for a long time, similar, although this is designed to max out at about $50,000. But then in addition to that, then there are the leadership bonuses and the leadership premiums that will be built on top of this. So so that teachers that do extra things will be added upon in a monetary way. And again, these were things that the teachers agreed upon. So it's not that the union is pushing back and that the trustees have one position, the superintendent has another position, the teachers have another, and then the legislature has still another. So I'm going to look back to this as a very important, turning point in the education system in Idaho.
Absolutely.
And that's going to pay dividends down the road. And that also is going to make Idaho a better place to live.
Absolutely.
And I will be disappointed if we don't do something with the taxes that makes Idaho a better place to live. Zeb, it's tax season, and if you take the taxes that you and Deanne are going to pay here this spring, and you take that same set of circumstances and you plug that into the Utah tax code, you're going to pay less money in Utah than you do in Idaho.
That's right.
And that makes it so when businesses come to look at Idaho, that's what they look at. And if everything else is equal, they'll opt for a place that charges less taxes. It's just as simple as that. And we've got to make some investment and make some changes in our tax code so that small businesses in Idaho are treated as well as the large businesses in Idaho, and our future is going to come from citing new small businesses in Idaho. The guys that are going to hire 5 or 10 or 25, we're not going to attract a lot of businesses that are going to hire 1,000 right off the bat. And the business models are always going to be, like I said, 80% of the businesses in Idaho pay their taxes in the individual income tax schedule, not the corporate tax schedule, but the individual tax schedule. And so we've got to make that more attractive.
Absolutely. I'm out of time, and I want to say thank you very much to Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. Thank you for all you've done during this session to be on our program, and we'll look forward to having you back. Scott, God bless. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Zed. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, with kind of an overview of the legislative session for this year. Oh, my goodness, we've got to get the weather on here real quick. Old Wheels is wondering what happened. Well, I'll tell you about Scarrows Meats. They sell taste one bite at a time. They're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number 324-7657. And they've got that delicious $300 tax return meat package, which includes beef and pork and chicken and cheese. Oh, it's great. Talk to them about it today. Buy one. You're going to love it. Absolutely, because they sell taste one bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers with Zeb at the Ranch. Got a mess this week? Yeah, you got a mess. Yes, you have a mess. We're going to start off with a slight chance of rain today. Temperatures are also going to be on the cooler side. A lot of people will like, and meteorologists would like to call this spring weather. Okay, that's what you probably got. In fact, I know that's exactly what you got. So you got a slight chance of rain today. You got a chance of rain and snow mixed tomorrow. You got cloudy and rain all the way through Thursday. You'll come out of it Friday with some nice weather and a nice weekend. 35 for the high today. 37 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much for the weather forecast today. Spring weather in the forecast. And don't forget the $300 tax return meat package at Scarrows Meats. You get patties and rump roasts and New York steaks and pork chops and brats and bacon and chicken and cheese. Oh, it's delicious. Call them on that today. You better believe it at Scarrows Meats. 324-7657. They're located at 331 North Road, Jerome, and at Scarrows Meats, they do sell taste one bite at a time. Excellent. Oh, my goodness sakes, tomorrow on the program, what have we got cooking? It's Tuesday, and don't forget we've got Dr. History at 10:06. It's going to be a replay from Out of the Past with Dr. History, and then Marita Noon from New Mexico talking about our United States Energy Program. Real quick, caller, I've got 30 seconds. I got to do another commercial. Go ahead fast, please.
Yeah, I heard you went fishing, and Zeb, you got to put the lure in the water, not in the trees. Have a good day.
Thank you, Al. The problem with that last phone call is it's true. I decorated a lot of the trees with lures and worms and bobbers and leaders. I'm so glad you called. Hey, don't forget the big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Oh, by the way, thanks, Deanne. Don't forget they've got all the tires on sale like the Wildcat AT2 for your pickup and SUVs, and for your passenger cars, they got the Eclipse tire on sale, all-season traction, advanced tread design. Oh, yeah, they've got the best. You know they've got the best in tire value promises, convenient credit for tires and services, and don't forget the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all this and more for your safe driving for this year at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Start saddling the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Once again, Marita Noon is one of the best known people in the United States on energy and the lack of, and she's going to be on the air tomorrow morning at 10:30. Don't miss that segment. We got a lot of good things cooking tomorrow for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. The way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.